Okay, so today we are going to start with scale basis and calculation basis, which are defined in SPRO and are the part of fetching the data from transaction for charge calculation. So this data fetching happens using the calculation basis. So we go to this place, basic functions, charge calculation, data source binding. See, the name itself is like this, data source binding, that if it is a freight order, and if we are doing charge calculation on a freight order, charge calculation is happening in the freight agreement. So freight order data has to be passed to agreement for charge calculation, right? So let's say the data like weight, cities, this data needs to be passed for charge calculation. So these are the scale basis and calculation basis are the one who are responsible for integrating this data. Okay, so first is scale base. We saw that in scale base it's a definition where we say with respect to each scale base there is a field assignment and these configurations. So city is something which is will be a text, so it doesn't have any dimension. It's not unit of measure relevant, no rounding rule, not numeric, not currency related. So it is a simple definition of scale, that it will be a text in this field. Similarly, if we see days is unit of measure relevant and the dimension is time. So like this, it's a high level definition, high level classification of data source, that it will be it's going to be days or city or distance, duration, equipment group, type. Okay, so scale bases are high level classification. Now calculation bases are to categorize it in a more granular way. So let's say if it is, so this location also, location, length. So we saw city, okay, but while doing charge calculation, we are not passing only one city. There will be source city, destination city, like this there can be varieties. So this classification happens in calculation base. Okay, and we assign scale base to a calculation base. So if we see city, so this city scale base is assigned to calculation base, destination, location, city. Okay, so while creating a rate table, we will use this calculation base for as one of the dimension of rate table. Similarly, there will be source, location, city. This one, city of source location. So this is how calculation bases are defined with reference to scale base. So similarly, let's take an example of distance. Distance is a scale base, which is the unit of measure relevant. Rounding rule is there. It's a numeric value, and the dimension is length. Now the calculation basis that will be defined for distance is this straight line distance is there, this one, straight line distance, and there can be other distance related actual distance. So you can see these helper classes are assigned here. These helper classes are standard class which helps charge calculation engine to determine the actual distance, to pull the actual distance value from a transaction document for charge calculation. Okay. So just for our understanding, you can understand it in this way, that scale bases are high level classification and calculation bases are more granular classification, using which you are going to define the dimensions of your rate table. So this is about scale basis and calculation basis. Now let's come back to where we were yesterday. We were in calculation sheet. So we'll open the freight agreement. So in this agreement, we have seen the header, we have seen item. At item level, currently no calculation sheet is there. Okay, we created one calculation sheet separately. We can assign it here, or we can click on add calculation sheet so that one embedded calculation sheet will be created. So let's assign that calculation sheet which we created yesterday. So the moment we assign it, all the details related to calculation sheet will flow here. Okay. So now the main thing that we have to see now in calculation sheet is, we have just seen a calculation sheet definition, header level definition. We have to see the item level details of it. So we'll go to master data, or we can directly from the freight agreement, we can click on display calculation sheet and it will take us to calculation sheet. Okay. So there's one base charge, one fuel charge. If we select these charge types, the data that populates here below is calculation sheet item level data. Okay. So some of the details will be filled from the initial line, like this charge type is base, basic rate, instruction type, standard. So we'll see which all functions we have at charge calculation sheet item level. So this is the line number of calculation sheet item, line number 20. Then we have manual charge item. So manual charge item means if we don't keep it as manual charge item and we remove the amount from here, so system would expect something, either a amount or a rate table, something should be assigned to a charge type. Otherwise, it will not allow us to save the agreement. So if we don't want to put any of the charges currently while defining, then we have to check this manual charge item. Then it understands that This charge type is manual, and the value in this charge type will be filled manually in the order. It will not expect any amount there. Rounding profile is for rounding the values. We saw while defining charge type, round value up and down to 0.01, 0.05 or to 1. So rounding profiles can be assigned like that. Then we have adjustment profile. Specifies the profile name for adjustment logic that must be applied to a target calculation base. So if there is if we want to use a profile for defining a logistical weight, let's say actual weight is coming as 5000 kg. Now we want to convert this weight into some other value for charge calculation purpose. Let's say we are dividing it by 100 every time, so that the charge calculation maintenance is not huge. We won't have to maintain the weights in tons in rate table. So we can use the adjustment profile for arriving to a logistical value by using a factor or something, by dividing, multiplying. So it can be used in multiple ways. Then operation is so some of the fields I think we can skip for now, otherwise it will be very confusing. For now, I'll just tell you whichever fields are more relevant and very important for charge calculation, and then we'll get into depth. Okay, so in this screen, this part we have discussed till here. We'll skip these fields. Then we have validity. So validity, we saw validity was assigned to agreement header. Then it was assigned to agreement item. Similarly, a validity can be assigned to charge type also. If nothing is there, it will take the validity from the higher level. I mean, from agreement header level. Okay. So this is for validity from and to. Now, in this area, we have seen the base charge type as base. It's a leading charge type. This is coming from configuration. In configuration of base charge type definition, we have said it as leading charge type. Then stage category is let me come here. It's not allowing me to edit, so that so there are different stage categories in the system: pre-carriage, main carriage, on carriage. So if this charge type is relevant for a particular stage category, it can be assigned here. Similarly, we have shipping type. If it is relevant for a shipping type, it can be assigned here. So this is again to categorize. If let's say we have one base charge here. Now we want to define another base charge for main carriage. Let's say this base charge is for pre-carriage. Pre-carriage is a if there are three legs, source location to source location port will become a pre-carriage. Source location port to destination location port will be a main carriage. So like this, if we want to define different charge types for different stage categories or different shipping types, It can be done using these fields. So if this is pre-carriage, we can add one more line here, base, that will be for on carriage. Then we have calculation method type. Okay. So there are different method types in standard: break weight, clipping, deficit weight rating. And then external means we have to assign a calculation method, how the calculation should happen. Standard fuel surcharge calculation. So some of the examples we'll see now in the next. Okay, so calculation method type, we have standard method. Standard method means the system calculates the transportation charges based on specified rates, calculation rule and actual weight. For example, the rate is USD 10 and a calculation rule specifies that the rate is for every 100 kg. Okay. Now the weight is 1800 kg. So the system calculates the transportation charge as USD 180. In rate table, we have defined that for every 100 kg, $10 is the charge. So when the order is for 1800 kg, $180 is the charge. That's a standard calculation method. The next calculation method is break weight calculation method, in which the system calculates the transportation charges by comparing and selecting the lower rate from either the actual rate range or the lower end of the next rate range. Break weight is the weight from which it is cheaper to calculate the rate as opposed to the actual weight of the goods. So we'll see in example, then it will be clear. So you are shipping 490 kg and are using the following break weight and rates. So our order is of 490 kg and these are the rates defined in system. Greater than equal to 100 kg, $10 per kg. Greater than equal to 500 kg is 8 per kg, and greater than equal to 1000 is 6 per kg. Okay. So using the standard calculation method, the one which we discussed before this, using the standard, it should be coming in this range, greater than 100. So ranges will automatically be defined based on the next value. So if this is greater than equal to 100 and the next one is greater than equal to 500, then this range will be 100 to 500. Okay, so this 490 will fall in this category, and the charges for 490 kg will be 4900 US dollars. But if we use break weight calculation method, the system checks if it is cheaper to use the rate for original rate range or the next rate range. So in this case, uh, as per the original rate range, the amount is coming 4900. And in the next rate range, if let's say if they consider that this is not 490 kg, this is 500 kg. So if it is 500 kg, 500 into 8, the total amount which is coming is 4000 kg. This one is less. So this will be taken as a transportation charge. The calculation method is break weight. Okay. Then we have clipping method. So clipping method is like when you have defined ranges like this up to 5 tons, 50 US dollars absolute, up to 7 tons, 14 per ton, up to 10 tons, 13 per ton, up to 15 tons, 12. Okay, now your order is of 12 tons. So as per standard charge calculation, it will directly fall in this bucket up to 15 tons. and it will do 12 into 12 and will give you $144. But if the calculation method is clipping, then it will split this 12 tons in these buckets. Okay, so it will be 12 tons, first 5 tons is 50, so total amount is 50. Now next range is up to 7. So 7 minus 5, 2 tons are remaining. 2 tons with this up to 7 kg, 7 ton rate. 2 into 14, 28. Then next is 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. So for next 3 tons, the rate applicable is 39. Similarly for the next two. So the total amount that is calculated is 141. So like this, we have these calculation methods that can be used uh, if applicable. So this is about calculation method type. And so let's say if calculation method is external system or other something, means we have to assign a calculation method. External means we are running our own logic for calculation. In that case, we have to create a custom method and assign the method here that this logic should be running. So in standard also there are some logics. Z fuel surcharge. So like this we can define our own method and assign it for charge calculation as well. If we leave it as blank, it considers it as standard. Okay. The next thing is calculation resolution base. This is one of the important thing here. So in a order, there are different levels. There will be header level, item level. So like this, in TM, these are the different levels: active resource, booking, container, main item, package, passive resource, product, resource, route. Route is header, service, stage. These are the different levels in a order. Okay, we can say that these are the different buckets where respective data is stored. Okay, so from which bucket we want to transfer the data for charge calculation for a order, that will be defined in calculation resolution base. If we leave it as blank, it considers it as route header. So let's say if our charge calculation is based on product ID also. So source location, destination location and product ID. These three are our scales. In that case, if we pass the resolution base as route header, but header is not having any information about the product. So the product information will not be passed to charge calculation engine. So in that case, we have to set the resolution base as product so that that information is also passed. Okay. In our case, we have used this example where our charge calculation bases are based on equipment type. So equipment type is like 32 feet multi-axle truck, single axle truck, dry or temperature control. Those things are defined as equipment type in system. So charge calculation should happen based on that. And that information is available in resolution based container. If we pass the resolution base as route, that information will not be passed for charge calculation. So we have to pass the resolution base as container there. Okay. We'll see one example of different resolution bases in doing transactions so that it will be more clear. So this is in the basic data of calculation sheet item level. The next tab is rate. So in this, there are different options. We can give a fixed amount here. if required. So this amount will reflect in this row. This is the same amount. Reference from and to can be given if applicable. So in case of second one, we have given 5%, 20, 20. So whichever line is selected, that information will be shown below. If there is a minimum amount and maximum amount, then that also can be mentioned here. So there can be some rules like let's say if some cancellation is happening, for cancellation minimum amount is 5,000, but if vehicle has traveled some certain kilometers, then let's say the minimum amount is 5,000, and if vehicle has traveled some kilometer, per kilometer 50 rupees is another rule. So when we calculate this charge, we will pass the kilometers to the calculation engine. It will calculate based on per kilometer whether the amount is coming less than 5,000 or not. If it is coming less than 5,000, this minimum amount will be applicable as charge. If it is coming more than 5,000, then whatever is the amount coming, that will be pulled for charge calculation. That's the purpose of these fields. Then calculation rule will be used to, like in that example, in calculation method example, we saw that a rule was defined that $10 is the charge for 100 kg of weight. So that per 100 kg of weight is defined as a calculation rule. So in calculation base, it will be gross weight, price unit will be 100, unit of measure is kg. That's how it will be assigned to this. The next thing is all related to rate tables. So the rate table, whatever rate table we create, that rate table ID will be maintained here. If there are multiple rate tables and it should be dynamic, in that case rate table determination rule will be maintained. It's a condition. Okay, then let's go to classification. Here we can classify this as a tax or mandatory charge or statistical charge. So if it is tax, I mean this is just to classify the charge types. If it is mandatory, system will not allow you to save the order if the charge type is blank. If it is statistical, then this value will be there, but it will not be added in the sum. Statistical means it will be only for information. This amount is not being added into sum and charged to customer. Okay, then we can have some preconditions maintained here as well. So either we can insert preconditions here directly. Preconditions can be based on trade lanes or service or partners. Trade lanes are like the shipment is starting from a location, reaching to a location, or if it is inbound, outbound, along within. So based on the location data, that let's say the shipments which are starting from Bangalore, this charge type is only applicable for all the shipments starting from Bangalore. In that case, we will assign a this kind of trade lane from source type is zone, and we will assign the uh, Bangalore zone here. So this becomes a precondition that this charge type is only applicable for those orders where the source location is Bangalore. There is a trade lane specific precondition. Then we can have service specific precondition as well. Service level. So these service levels are shipping conditions of VCC. So whichever shipping condition is coming, if we want to say that this charge type is only applicable for 01 standard shipping, then we can assign it as a precondition here. And if there are some preconditions based on partners, means business partner, that also can be maintained. But if none of these precondition we want to define and we have some other logic, for that we can create a condition and assign the condition here. That will work as a precondition then. Then we have notes for text maintenance. Related calculation basis. So when we define a calculation rule, we assign calculation base here. One calculation base can have some related calculation basis. Means let's say if there are some dependencies for some data, that if this data is there, along with this another set of data should be there, otherwise it will not work. So that is called as related calculation base. So if there are such scenarios, in configuration we can define the related calculation basis, the place where we define calculation base. So here with respect to each calculation base we can assign a related calculation base. So these related calculation bases also will be defined in the same place. Okay, so this is about calculation sheet item. Now we can move on to rate table. Each charge element will be can be assigned a rate table if required. As of now, we have not assigned. We are going to assign it now. Okay, so we go to edit mode in this. Now, since we have defined this calculation sheet as a master, like this calculation sheet was not created within the agreement, we assigned it, created it separately and assigned to the agreement. So these rate table related buttons are not enabled. Otherwise, we can, if the calculation sheet is created using this button, add calculation sheet, then these add rate table, delete rate table, these buttons also become enabled. But now in this case, we have defined it separately. Okay, let's do one thing. We'll remove this calculation sheet. And then create a new one here. So I've added a calculation sheet 513 which is embedded and it can only be used for this freight agreement. Here I'm going to add two charge types like before. Okay, so we have created the same kind of calculation sheet and now let's try to save the freight agreement. So it says Save cancelled. Rate determination rule, rate table or amount is expected for item 20. This is item 20. We have neither given a rate table nor assigned a amount directly. So it's not allowing us to save. Then now we can click on add rate table, and one rate table ID will be created like this calculation sheet ID. Okay, we can click on add rate table. Okay, so this rate table 771 is defined, created, but it doesn't have any information as of now. It's a blank rate table. So we'll have to go to the rate table and then maintain the parameters. So now we are inside rate table and it has three tabs. First one is general data. In general data, these informations are filled based on the agreement. Since it was for base charge, all the base charge related information is filled here. Calculation sheet information is filled. This is for service provider. Agreement information is also filled. This is the freight agreement. This is the organization. So we have to insert the scale here. Okay, now these scales are different. These scales are not same as those scale base. See, scale base is one of the parameter here. Scale base, calculation base. These scales are purely the dimensions of rate table. So we can put a dimension like source location city, destination location city. So these dimensions will be created using the calculation basis, right? That we have already discussed. So for source location city, which calculation base we can select, we'll see from here. This is source location city, city of source location. This becomes one of the dimension for this rate table. Scale type is same scale, means the value should match. Same value should be matched. The value which is coming from order and the value which is maintained in the rate table. Both the values should match, then only it will be considered. Next one also we can put destination. Destination location city, city of destination location. So this is also same scale. Now let's add one more. So this time these two are absolute scales. It's a text, so it should match. This time we'll add something which can be relative. Let's say we'll add something which is from weight side. So we'll say gross weight. Okay. Now the scale base which is assigned to gross weight is weight, and the scale base says that it's a unit of measure relevant. So this unit of measure becomes mandatory, and scale type is also mandatory for relative calculation basis. Gross weight will be a relative base. So we have three options in scale type. One is base scale, two scale and same scale. So base scale means whatever value you will maintain, that will be the start of range. So let's say the rate is maintained like this. Here it is kg and rate. So if you have maintained base scale, 3, 100, 10, 90, 100, 80. Let's say like this. These rates are per kg rates. So it will be multiplied with the number of kg you get in the order. So if it is base scale, the ranges for this will be maintained like this. 3 will become the base value. So this will be 3 to next range is up to 10. So 3 to 10. For 3 to 10, whatever weight is coming, for that weight 100 kg will be 100 per kg will be chargeable. For the next value, if it is base scale, this 10 becomes the base value and 10 to next one, 10 to 100 and 100 to infinite will be 80. So this will be the ranges in case if you select the scale type as base scale. If you select the scale type as 2 scale, then the first range will be 0 to 03, 03 to 10, 10 to 100. Above 100, no rate will be picked because nothing is assigned. So that is the difference. Whatever number you maintain, whether that number should be the upper limit of the range or lower limit of the range will be decided based on the scale type. Okay, so let's say we say it is 2 scale and we give unit of measure as kg. So we have defined 3 dimensions till now to our rate table. Okay, in form of scales. So till the time a value is assigned here, this add rate table will not be enabled. We'll have to remove this value and then click on add rate table and the rate table will be created 772. Now we'll click on display rate table and then map the same data here. Source location city. So first we'll save the freight agreement with this information. So whatever these display rate table and all we are doing from the screen, it can also be done. We can select this and click on display calculation sheet. So this calculation sheet 5114 will be displayed. Now we can click on basic rate and click on display rate table also. So one validity is inserted in the rate table. Against the validity, all the rates will be maintained here. We can have multiple validities and against multiple validities, rates can be maintained. So let's say for some companies, if monthly they are revising rates, so they can keep validity monthly and against those validities, they can maintain the rates. So let's do it for this validity. Source location is, let's say, Delhi to Bangalore. If weight is up to 100 kg, the rate is 100 rupees per kg. another row. Okay. Okay. Now we'll copy this and we'll define the rate for second weight category up to 100, up to 300 kg. The rate should be reduced, right? Per kg rate. Okay, we'll see with these two. So now this per kg we have not defined anywhere. This has to be a calculation rule. So we'll go to calculation rule and assign the calculation base here. So this calculation rule is for calculation base gross weight. It's applicable for the entire rate table. Price unit is 1 kg. Means whatever rate we have defined is applicable per kg. Now once the rate table is defined, we have to set the status to released. Then only it becomes useful. So this is released. Let's save the freight agreement now. So now we have defined uh, a rate table for a charge type. So now this rate table is assigned to this charge type base. When we do a charge calculation from freight order, this charge should be pulled. So let's go back to some freight order and see if there are some freight orders which we can use for this charge calculation. So all the freight orders are for VRL. We can directly also create a freight order in TM system without any reference document. So in this case, just for our charge calculation purpose, let's create a new freight order and assign the carrier as the DHL. Okay, so the moment we assign it here, it says charge calculation completed. So for charge calculation, it will consider these data: carrier, purchase org, and the validities will be checked. So let's see the charges tab of this freight order, how the charge calculation is done. It has picked a different agreement because there were two agreements existing at the same time. So we deactivate one of those and save the freight order. I think we need to refresh this freight order. Let me open it again. It has picked our agreement, but the base charge is not determined. We'll see why. We can select the charge type and click on show height details. So it will show us what values are pulled for charge calculation. This is the agreement, this calculation sheet, rate table. In the calculation rule, we'll be able to see city of source location is Delhi in the order. City of destination location is not being passed. And scale value, nothing is missed. So we'll see what are the locations in our order. Here in the general data we can see. Or let's see it in details and stages. So first location city is Delhi. Second location city is Bangalore. So let's maintain the rate table in that way. So a refresh is required, so we'll have to close and open the freight order again. And now we have to trigger the charge calculation. And we have not assigned any gross weight value in the order. Cargo weight is coming as blank. Hundred kgs pulled this time, but city of destination location is not being passed. Okay, so for our reference, let's remove the destination location for now, just to see how charge calculation is happening. So to make any change in the rate table structure, we have to delete the rate table and then delete the scale and do whatever modifications we want in scale, and then again come back, insert validity. Okay, so now charge is determined. We select the basic rate, uh, and in the calculation rule, the order weight is 100 kg. Source location, city of source location is Delhi, that is also matched. So with 100, the rate was 100 rupees per kg. So rate is 100, final amount that has come is 10,000, and the 5% of 10,000 is the fuel surcharge. So that is also added as 500, and that's how the charge is calculated as 10,500. So let's say if we change the weight from, our ranges are 0 to 100. Oh, sorry, our range is 100 to 1000 and above 1000, I think. So 2 scale. Our weight range is up to 100, it is 100 rupees per kg. Up to 1000 it is 90. So from 100 to 1000 this 90 should be picked. So let's say if we increase the freight order weight by 10 kg, we'll make it as 110 and then save the freight order. So now the basic rate that is pulled per kg is 90, and as per 90 for 110 kg, 9,900 is the calculated amount. 495 is the fuel surcharge with 5% rate. So this is one example of charge calculation